Hello everybody, this is Reggie time and we have another hand today I'm going to bring to you shortly. But before we do that, we're just going to go through the results of the last hand that I posted a few days ago, or the last video back in my library if you're watching this, sometime that isn't around the 21st of January. So this regressive player raised under the gun, we 3-bet the queens, he calls, we c-bet the flop of course, he calls, we elected to barrel this turn for value, he called again, and then we get this brick river. And at the time of the last video, the question here was, do we bet for value, do we bet fold, do we just jam, or do we check fold, or do we check call? Reads on my opponent were that he was pretty damn loose aggressive pre-flop, didn't fold to 3-bets very often, and had not as aggressive stats post-flop. That's not to say he was passive, but he kind of seemed one of these guys who's pretty loose aggressive pre-flop and then not as aggressive post-flop, but still aggressive enough where he can put us in tough spots. So that was it. That was the point where we left the last video. Do we jam? Do we bet fold, which I think would be horrendous? Do we check fold, or do we check call? And I elected to check and call, just because I thought, this is one of the best hands we're going to have here. They want to check this river, I guess. And with that in mind, I probably would just be check folding here if I had maybe 2-9, something like that, or just some complete airballs that have given up on. Maybe I could have like the with ace of diamonds, with king of diamonds, that type of thing. So I elected to call because for me, it felt like it was one of the best hands I could have, and I didn't really want to be folding. For folding this, I kind of felt like I'd be folding pretty much everything. And unfortunately for us, he turned up with just a naked ace of diamonds. I think his flop flow is ambitious, its turn flow is completely standard, and I guess I don't hate his river shove since he knows we can't have the nuts. But yeah, that's the result of that hand. Just give me, you have to give me a moment. In a moment, I'm just going to pause the video, and we come back, we'll have today's hand to review. So here we are with the hand in question. We have 7-5 suited in the big blind, and a pretty, you would have called him a tagfish player in the olden days. I know both of these players pretty well, and they're both very, very similar. They definitely would have been classed as tagfish back in like the days when people weren't as loose aggressive as they are now. The stats would be around 20/10, the pair of them. Maybe 21-9, maybe 22-11, but on average like 20/10 players. We elect to defend the big blind, getting obviously such a great price with a pretty hand, and we flop pretty much as well as we can hope. So we elect to check, hoping at least one of these guys bets so we get to get a raising, and our friend obliges with a bet, our other friend obliges with a call, and I elect to put a pretty substantial check raising at this point, thinking that maybe Midnight has a decent top pair, but given he's pretty tag fishy, I don't expect him to just be airballing here very often. I think he's going to have either some kind of pretty good draw or top pair or better. That's going to be his range for this. I don't think he'd just have a random ace jack and do this. Real Ginag, when he calls, I think he's going to have some draws and again some top pairs. So I think I can definitely get value for my hand, so I'll go for a big raise, because clearly if I make the raise too small, there's a lot of really shitty turn cards, whereas this raise might be a little bit on the big side. Let's see how much is in the pot before I made my raise. There was 473 in the pot. I guess it's a tiny bit on the big side, but I don't mind, because I would be making it this size with plenty of my draws too. Probably wouldn't make it this size with sets. Maybe I would, but maybe not. Maybe I'm giving slightly something over my hand value, but who knows? I think it's fine. And then, surprisingly, Midnight just calls, which kind of threw me a little bit. And then the real Ginag just jams. And at this point, I was like, oh shit. We're getting tons of action from two players that are ridiculously passive. Well, not ridiculously, but really passive. But having said that, we block everything they can have, surely. I guess Real Guinea could have 2 queens occasionally, but he's going to 3-bet them some of the time. And we block the 7s and then we block the 5s, and we could just be up against like a good top pair in the draw. If one's got ace queen and the other one's got, say, some kind of big draw, then obviously we're going to get our money in reasonable shape, but not great shape. At this point, I don't think we're ever going to get our money in tremendously good shape. But the question is, do we just decide that one of these 2 guys has to have us beat because our reads are both a super passive, or do we just say, fuck it, we've got 2 pair, we're all in? And that's the question here. Do we call the money off at this point? Do we stick it on the $21.89 in the pot at this point, or do we just say, you know what, given our reads that both these guys are pretty much super passive, can we get away from our hand? So there we go, that's the hand. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of my line. I think the pre-flop's completely standard. I think post-flop the check raise is standard. I guess the only thing we've got to think about is my size. Is my size a little bit too big or not? I don't think it is, but I'm asking the question because it is large and it could well be on the large. It could well be too large. And then the second question is, irrespective of how large my bet is, do we now flick it in and call it off, or can we make an uber nitty fold given that we think one of these guys probably has us beat? So there you go, that's the hand. Let me know what you think, and we'll be back with another one pretty soon, hopefully. Bye bye for now.